This is an update on 1986 Irwin 38 center cockpit. This video is going to be about the instrument panel itself. The boat has a Yanmar engine in it, and it's this particular one, the 4JHE. These other ones are turbo type engines, and but this is the one that is used. And in the book they have the drawings of the instrument panel. Unfortunately, there was 3 pages of drawings. Depending on what instrument panel you had, there were 3 drawings, and I'll hold these up. Here's the first drawing, and this one shows the idiot lights and gauges and senders. This drawing here shows you a few more gauges that was available, plus idiot lights, and then the simplest version was this drawing here, and this drawing here is strictly idiot lights, tachometer and idiot lights, and no gauges whatsoever. I guess to save money they went with the simplest instrument panel. This is the instrument panel here. I removed it from the boat. Let's move this up. And here's the instrument panel itself. These are the idiot lights. There's spares in there. There's only 3 being used: oil pressure, oil temperature, and water temperature. Did I say that right? It is low pressure, oil pressure, temperature, and charging light. Sorry, I said that wrong. But the problem that I noticed when I was operating the boat was that this panel was really built marginal. Here's the back view of it. It's kind of a bit of a rat's nest of wires. They did have some harnessing going on, but some people added some things. This is light for the compass, and cigarette lighter for power up at the pedestal. This is the way it came. I'm assuming this is the way it came from Irwin, but it's so poorly constructed. They use very light gauge aluminum. You can see this; it flexes like crazy. And this assembly here, which is the idiot light assembly, they did screw it in place, but the way they attach it in the back was they used silicone, and they tried to attach it, but it just was such a poor quality job. It was just unbelievable. There must have been I think there was a push button, because one of the options has an engine kill, which is not a mechanical, it's an electrical. You push a button, it kills the engine. This is the Yanmar ignition switch, because the key says Yanmar on it. A massive switch. God knows why it has to be that big. It doesn't. There's the tachometer for it. It's just a real poor. And this is alarms. Since you have idiot lights, you have to have alarms, because a lot of times the sun is out and you can't see the lights, and you need the alarm to sound. I kind of like the idea of the connectors, because you can unhook it. Obviously, when the engine manufacturer made it, they supplied you with a harness for the engine and for the panel, and then Irwin built his own panels and mounted the gauges in the panels, the lights and the tachometer, and produced the panel. But it's really very poor quality. It could have been done better. So what I decided to do was build another panel, and I started already. This is the panel right here that I'm building. I haven't finished drilling it out yet, but these are Telflex gauges. We'll have oil pressure, water temperature, and amp meter. And the tachometer will be mounted up here. I have to drill the hole for it. There's the back of it. It hasn't been wired yet. The ignition switch will be mounted in here in this area on the right side to match that one. And you can see it's much thicker. You can't really flex it. It's a 1/4 inch plastic, and it's a similar plastic, or the same plastic I used to do the instrument panel on the inside of the boat, where all the circuit breakers are for the whole boat. I do have some pictures of that of an earlier. I may make another video, but this is a more substantial panel. and I'll label it. It will be labeled similar to the other one. The other thing they added on this old one was this switch here, and this switch is basically for lights, for the tack, and also a test to test the alarm. But usually the way it works is when you turn the key on and there's no oil pressure, the alarm's going to sound, and as soon as you start the engine up, the alarm silences itself. This alarm is going to be used over again, but it's going to be mounted inside the pedestal itself. There's no reason. It is so loud and obnoxious. When it's out here, it's screeching at you. And what is going to happen is I'm going to mount it inside the pedestal behind the panel, and it will be plenty of volume to hear it. It doesn't have to be right out there in front of you. So I'll be shooting another video of the new panel. I am going to be using the existing harness because it's nicely taped together. I'm not going to be using the idiot lights. That's the point I was trying to get away from the idiot lights. There'll be gauges, as you saw on this other panel. Instead of idiot lights, there will be gauges, and there will be an audible alarm, so if you do have a situation, you just have to look down and see what's going on. The thing that's interesting about the drawings is that I started modifying the drawings. The actual panel that belongs with the boat is the simplest drawing, but it's kind of, this panel was really a combination of all three drawings, and why they did that I have no idea, but if you start tracing the wires out and color code out, it's really a new drawing. It should be a fourth drawing, and it's really pieces of the other drawings in combination with this drawing. So this drawing is not very accurate. Some of it is, some of it isn't, and you can see in this area I blanked out some areas. And the reason why is this had an optional preheater for the intake, to preheat the intake. It didn't use, the Amor doesn't use glow plugs, and this is a preheater to heat the intake air. My boat doesn't have it. That was an option they didn't put in. I guess that's for real cold weather starting. So in troubleshooting and looking at this and figuring out what's going on, there's really pieces of each drawing that are this instrument panel itself. So this drawing doesn't truly reflect what the instrument panel is. Even some of the wires aren't coded right as far as color go. So I'm using this drawing, I'm modifying this drawing, I'm whiting out the lines that aren't there, and blocking out things that aren't there, and then I'm going to redraw things that are there to really reflect what the boat really has, and not try to piece it together to figure out what's going on. I mean, it would be a challenge if you pull this drawing out of the book to try to truly figure out what you had, because it doesn't represent the real boat. One of the things that's interesting in this panel is the preheater wiring is here, because I guess it came as a bundle. This is it's a very heavy wire, and it goes up into the harness, and it goes onto this switch for preheat position, and that's when you turn the key to the left, and it's spring-loaded for preheat. But my boat doesn't have preheat, so this is a wiring that does not use, even though it does go down through the harness and does go into the engine. That will all be removed. This one will be removed. The engine, I just may tape it off and tag it for a spare in case for some reason I'm going to be doing anything else. The wire is there. I may also use it for the amp meter, since I have an amp meter up here, so the wiring is there already. But it's just, I really feel this is really poor quality for what it is. It's just poorly put together. They kind of glued things together. You know, there's this stop button here. They used some kind of probably 5200 glued plugs in, and just really poor quality. This is something I expect an amateur owner would do. It just the panel looks nice. It's painted. It's quite old and weathered now, but the backside of it is really poorly put together. And I have a feeling when anybody else opens theirs up, they're going to see the same thing. Poor quality. I'm not going to use this switch over again. They make more modern switches. It doesn't use the Amor key. It's got its own key. I don't really care about the Amor key. And it's interesting, this switch has on and off. That's it. It doesn't have, what the switch really represents is, it represents off, accessory, on, and then finally start. So this is the key ignition switch that came with the panel, but it doesn't represent what really is there. So that's going to be changed to a current switch that's going to be basically kind of like a car switch, automotive, the earlier ones. It's going to be off, accessories, on, and then start. And that will be wired in. When it's on, the lights will come on for the instrument panel and the gauges, because there's no reason to have those lights on when the engine's not running. So that pretty much does it for this installment. The next video you're going to see is the new panel completed, and you know, the backside of it, and then I'll show you when it gets wired into the boat. And that should do it for this one.